Well, welcome to Scarborough. Early October, bit of sunshine, which is good, but the wind is blowing somewhat. So I've got the Jack Wolfskin hat on. That's doing me proud, and we're having a good time, aren't we? Generally, we're having a pretty good time.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Bit of sunshine.
Bit of sunshine and some hardy souls. I'll show you these characters. So, do you fancy doing that?
No, definitely.
Definitely not.
It looks a bit cold.
It looks a bit cold, but it's meant to be really good for you, isn't it? Meant to be really good for you doing that.
It is. Maybe another day.
Another day. So they're brave. Well, they're probably the same age as us, if not older.
Absolutely.
Some of them.
Absolutely. I'll have to bring my wetsuit next time.
Bring your wetsuit, your dry suit. So just walking along the sand at the South Bay in Scarborough, and I first came here in 1976, that wonderful hot summer, absolutely fantastic. And then I came here on and off a few times subsequently with my parents, and then when I got to university at York, we had a few little trips out here on the train, myself and some friends, my friend John Fogden and one or two others. And John and I decided, we got into our third year, and somehow or other we had a brainwave to start a society which would be the SAS, the Scarborough Appreciation Society. And it must be 39 years ago, it was December 1983, that the SAS had its first trip to Scarborough. And it was, on the whole, a very successful society. I think John and I had worked out that although we had a genuine and deep affection for coming to Scarborough and having a good day out here, we also worked out that provided we set up a society with 100 members at least, then we could get a student union grant. And that was something like £150. Which doesn't sound like a huge amount, but it was enough to subsidise a couple of coach trips. And the society really went from strength to strength. We ran 2 or 3 trips, got a lot of publicity both in York and in Scarborough, which which we enjoyed. And I think we were always pains to point out that our society, although the name and so on was a bit tongue-in-cheek, it was quite genuine. We loved the place and we loved coming here. So we were met by the mayor, and on a subsequent occasion the mayor of Scarborough came to York and went for a meal with the society at the Willow restaurant, which I think is closed now in York, famous Willow Chinese restaurant, and then danced away to the wee small hours of the morning. So it was good fun. I think it only existed for 2 or 3 years. I think once John and I and a chap called Jason Robson, his real name was Jason, once we'd left university, I think it sort of ran out of steam after that. But we had many happy days here on these little trips out. As I say, I can remember the first trip was in December, so inevitably quite cold, but we had a sandcastle building competition. But the most popular bit was the tour of the local hostelries, the Golden Ball, the Scarborough Flyer, I think Mr. Pickwick's, or the Pickwick Tavern, which is now called the Dickens Inn. It's a whole variety. But the old place hasn't changed very much at all. The big thing that's completely disappeared, which is directly opposite me now, that's the site of the Futurist Theatre and Cinema, and that was derelict for quite a few years, from I don't know, the 1990s onwards, I should think, and eventually was demolished. Demolished not so long ago, 2 or 3 years ago maybe. But certainly in the 70s, 80s, very, very popular for well, for its theatre, for its typical seaside acts. The one I particularly remember coming here was Ken Dodd. He regularly came here, and if you were down for the second house for Ken Dodd, you would be queuing outside for a long time, because he'd go on and on in the first house until he had to be physically dragged off the stage. But you'd eventually get in for the second show, and you'd perhaps be leaving 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The Grand Hotel is still standing proud. I think it's a wonderful, beautiful building, built and opened in 1867. That's the first Grand Hotel in the UK, or perhaps anywhere in Europe. Struggling a little bit recently. We've certainly seen some rather poor reviews. I heard a few rather unhelpful comments about it, and it must be very hard trying to run and maintain such a huge building under the current circumstances. But I'll show you in the course of this little video. I'll show you some of the little bits of ephemera and some of the photos I've got that relate to coming out to Scarborough. Going to see Max Jaffa at the Spa when he was in his pomp with his orchestra. I remember doing that on one occasion. The late great Max Jaffa, he was here with his orchestra for many, many years. He was kind of a Mr. Scarborough type character. All of these things have sort of passed into history now. I think that tradition of having a spa orchestra and that kind of entertainment has largely disappeared, I suspect. But they were good days, and it's hard to it's hard to quite imagine that was 39, nearly 40 years ago. And I think probably for John and me, that the only thing we probably regretted, though there's not a lot of point in regretting anything really, was we perhaps should have started the society in our second year, the start of our second year, rather than the start of our third year. Because when you get into the third year, you've got lots of things to have to concentrate on, you know, your studies and working out what you're going to do next with your career, your life, and so on. So if we'd started a bit earlier, I think we'd have enjoyed running the society for longer. We only had the best part of a year of running it, and we organised two or three coach trips anyway to Scarborough, and I think on one occasion we went up to Whitby as well, and then returned to Scarborough for the afternoon and evening. I think on our first trip to Scarborough in that December 1983, we had the sandcastle building competition down here on the sands, and I'm pretty sure I've got a photo of, might not be everybody who came on the trip, but a large group of students from the University of York, somewhere about here. And then on a later occasion, because I think the weather was a bit warmer, I think two of my friends, Brian Smith and Jason George Robson, decided that although they hadn't got swimming trunks, they were going to go for a swim in the sea. And I think I've got a photograph of them emerging from the waters. That's provided YouTube don't ban me, I can show that. So fine views up towards the castle headland. North Bay is the other side of that. The church up there is, I can't remember the name of the church, I think it's St Mary's. This is where Anne Bronte is buried. And the usual arrangement of amusement arcades, pubs, other attractions. I can remember writing, either me or John writing about the gentle call of the bingo callers along the front here, the waft of hot dogs and candy floss and fish and chips. the trampling of the donkeys. The donkeys aren't here today, having a rest.